Hello, and welcome to Behind the Gavel. I'm Lori Jennings, Public Information Officer for Lower Merion Township. And as always, I'm joined by the Board of Commissioners President Dan Bernheim. Welcome, Dan, and thank you for joining me today.
An absolute pleasure as always, Lori, as we finally make our way into spring.
Yeah, we've made our way into spring and we're seeing the first signs popping up everywhere. The signs of a little bit of a normal life keep appearing, and though we're not quite there yet, there are some really great things on the horizon. But unlike the months past, we've got reason for optimism. So can you tell me a little bit where we are in our fight with COVID-19?
Yeah, one of the key indicators of statistics is what's referred to as the positivity rate. And if that is 5% or less, the belief is that's an indication that we're suppressing the virus. So in the county, the rate is now below 5% for the first time at 4.83. And in Lower Merion, we're at 1.87%, which really sounds good. State-wise, it's a little bit above 5%, but it had been at numbers much greater than that. So all of those signs are, as you put it, very, very encouraging. And we need to continue to get the vaccine out and maintain wearing masks and the social distancing, and more than just keep our fingers crossed that we're going to be able to put this in our rearview mirror sooner as opposed to later. The fact that we are 1 year later and still talking about this is incredible, but there is, as you put it, optimism on the horizon.
There sure is. And some of the state restrictions have been eased or lifted, so that's good news to our restaurants and businesses and things like that. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for everyone to be vaccinated, how can you go about getting a vaccine? What's the best way to do that?
Well, still the best way to do things is through Montgomery County.
Right.
And to get information, there is a hotline that Montgomery County has, and its COVID-19 website is a great place for information. But as we stand or sit right here and now, we still have over 127,000 people who are classified, 1A, and have not received the vaccine. And the county is really seeking to get more vaccine, because there are 2 and soon to be 3 locations that the county has to distribute those in Montgomery County Community College, Norristown High School, and soon one to be in Willow Grove. But yesterday, the State Department of Health announced that for Southeast Pennsylvania, they decided to have one central location, which maybe in other parts of the state that makes sense, but with all due respect to the folks in our Department of Health, it does not here, because you're then going to limit the access and the ability of people to get the vaccine. There is a reason that all of the counties in this area have gone to the Department of Health and said, will you please reconsider this? And in fact, on behalf of our board and township, I wrote a letter asking them to reconsider. We have the ability to distribute the vaccine. We just need the vaccine to do so. So whether we'll have any impact on the decision makers in Harrisburg, we will soon see. But hopefully they'll get more vaccine into this area, regardless where they decide to distribute it, sooner as opposed to later. And then one other item is that some of the pharmacies are doing it, and through the Department of Health you can find out who and where, and those appointments you got to make directly with the pharmacies. So hopefully the projections by end of May that we'll get shots in everyone's arm come true.
I'm sure that the residents of this township really appreciate the way the Board of Commissioners is making the residents' opinion known to the state. Even though we may not have much pull, we still want them to know that we're not satisfied with the way they're handling things. So I really appreciate that also. And so there's light at the end of the tunnel. And how is the township proceeding? How were the plans to open the township facilities going?
Well, as a board, we just considered, all right, what steps can we take? And as we are taping this, we're on the doorstep of spring break for schools. recognizing that people can't really travel a lot and that the kids and families are itching to be able to utilize our libraries. And with appropriate safety precautions, we're planning to open the libraries in slow steps, not full-fledged, as of March 29. And what will occur is that the libraries will begin with limited hours and limited number of people in there, limited times for which you can go ahead and search for books or utilize computers. And there's a requirement: if you walk in, you must wear a mask. No ifs, ands, or buts about that, no exceptions. And if for any reason someone elects not to wear a mask when being asked to do so and continues to refuse, we will shut down the entire library and everybody will be escorted out if somebody doesn't comply. We are very serious about this, that this is a no exception rule, and for the most part, 99.9% of the time, we've had complete compliance, so we're hoping that this doesn't become a problem, but we're really very serious about making sure of safety for the residents and for all of our library staff. We'll continue with all the online things. We may have to reorganize some of the staff who is doing what in order to take care of it, but we're looking forward to that as a big step towards normalcy.
Right, and they are going to have some reduced hours and at least one weekend day, so that'll be wonderful. And I know with the kids being out of school, it's going to be a really terrific thing for them to be able to go get some books and crafts and things that they do at the library. So I'm sure that'll be great.
Yeah, David Belanger, our head of our library, and the staff have put together a full plan, which I'm sure is available on the website. They've really thought through this process well in order to open things up and be mindful of everybody's safety. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
So is there anything further on COVID before we move on? We'd all love to know more about COVID.
Well, no, it's just we're all at the point where we're fatigued with this and we want to get it behind us, but we still have some work to do. And I forget which of those talking head physicians said, "Don't spike the ball before you reach the end zone on the 5-yard line." Let's still do what we have to do and get this safely behind us.
We're doing so well because we are doing what we have to do, so we have to keep that up. So is there any room for optimism with the township budget?
Well, as we take a look into our budget season as to what's going on, we recognize that we had a downturn in 2020 as a result of the pandemic. And if we were to compare between 2020 and 2019, just gross revenues, we're probably off maybe about $10 million plus or minus. However, with a lot of accolades to our township manager, to our CFO, Ernie McNeely and Eric Traub, and the staff as well as the board, we dialed back on a lot of anticipated expenses. So our shortfall is substantially less than what the gross revenue shortfall would be. But when we look forward into the upcoming year, hopefully with the vaccine coming out and people getting back to work, I think that we're going to find that 2021 may not be as traumatic as we thought or as traumatic as 2020 was. We have, most of our revenue comes from real estate taxes, 51%. Well, those values are there and people continue to pay those taxes. Our business privilege tax is the real question mark, because that's predicated on the earnings of the year before as to what you pay. So those earnings are probably down. So those revenues, which comprise of about 10% of our of what we take in on tax-wise, those will probably be off. But the other things, transfer taxes, which everybody was concerned about, my crystal ball says that those won't be as bad. If you go to try to buy a home now in Lower Merion, the mantra is make an offer before you make an appointment, and houses are flying off the market at prices that we've never seen before. So once there's more inventory that's out there, I'm projecting that those won't be as bad. So overall, my crystal ball, as I said, is projecting better things for 2021 than we thought a year ago.
That is great. So when do you think that the board will receive the next budget briefing from our finance team?
So we'll go on normal schedule. And what will happen is we get updates in April or May from our CFO as how we actually did in 2020 and some of the projections that are coming forth in 2021 so that we can start to prepare. So I'm sure they're working on it as we speak.
We just have a minute or two before we take a break. Do you have anything further you'd like to say on the budget?
Well, I think that we are fortunate that our foresight was really pretty spot on, and that we were very conservative in rolling back some of the programs that we have in our CIP, not to the detriment of anybody, but just on timing wise, so that from a financial situation, we're okay. And I think that a lot of kudos and recognition has to go to our Workers Association, as well as our other staff, and including we've had negotiations with the FOP, who all seem to recognize that, look, this is an unusual set of circumstances where everybody has had to feel a little bit of the pain. So that communal effort is what helps us so that we're not in as precarious a position as we may have.
Absolutely. Well, we have to take a break, but please stay tuned. There's more to come on Behind the Gavel. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Behind the Gavel. I'm Lori Jennings, here with Board President Dan Bernheim. Dan, thanks again for being with me today. So Dan, another of the Township's spring rites of passage is the presentation of the annual paving list. It's exciting stuff, I know, but it is well welcomed after such a snowy winter.
Well, certainly. Look, we're lucky in Lower Merion that the potholes aren't as bad as they are in Philadelphia. I think I passed one big enough. There was a family of 4 living in it. But nevertheless, we do roll out what our game plan is for moving forward with rotor milling and repaving the streets. And I believe that the program this year is almost up to 18 linear miles. When I was first on the board, we were doing somewhere between 8 to 12. So we really have stepped up the program in order to get it done. And I know a lot of people are thinking about this street or that street, or where Pico or Aqua or somebody else has dug it up, and when will it get paved. So there is a list of what we're capable of doing that's been rolled out. And trust me, every commissioner was angling to get the paving in their wards. But our public work department try to figure out where they can do it most efficiently, and the fact that they're doing so many roads is impressive.
Sure. So, is there not going to be any microsurfacing this year?
Well, I didn't see any on the list. And for those who are unfamiliar, as opposed to scraping it down and doing everything that you see when they're repaving roads, this is one more, just think of putting another coat on it. So there's some that aren't fans of that, and some who are, some that say it's a Band-Aid when you need the tourniquet. And there's always a question, how durable is it? But I think for this year, the decision was, of the roads they're going to do it what I'll call in the more traditional fashion, so there's no microsurfacing. And if I stated that inaccurately, I'm sure within 3 seconds of this program, I'll hear from Paul McElhaney, our head of Public Works.
So one notable omission is the section of Montgomery Avenue between Spring Mill and Matson Ford Road. And why was this section delayed?
Well, my understanding, there are several reasons for that. This is being put off. Pico is currently working there, and they've encountered some groundwater issues which need to be taken care of. They need to figure that out. So they're trying to get some solutions as to how to handle that. And then there have been some issues where Aqua has advanced some of their projects in the area. So the scheduling between Aqua and Pico and what work they're going to do and when that's going to be repaved. Once that's put into the mix, that sort of delayed this for probably another year.
Sure. And there was a fairly in-depth discussion this year on the equipment fund purchases and the asset replacement at the March Public Works Committee meeting. What input was sought from the board on this?
So to understand, we've had historically an equipment fund, which is a separate fund which goes ahead to take care of the expenses of the number of vehicles and equipment that we have. So on each year we analyze, all right, what do we need? So this year there are about 35 different vehicles and equipment which were up for replacement, most of them that have already outlived their normal life expectancy. I think the year prior we had about 40 different vehicles that we had to take care of. And we're talking about trash trucks, police cars, sewer and public works, type of equipment, which are purchased through some co-op anyway for cost-saving purposes. So the main issue that was before the board was alternative fuel, right? Do we get hybrids, electric vehicles, and what can we do with that? If you read the plans for the major manufacturers, we're all headed there, within a shorter period of time than we may have thought, sooner or later. But what we learned is from the technology, especially for police vehicles, we're not there yet. The tests were done, and the problem was that a police vehicle's got a lot of electrical equipment in it, with its computers and what have you. It has to meet certain standards of even being able to hop a curb, of certain heights and with capabilities. And what we discovered is those vehicles, they're just not ready for prime time yet. So what we do is we'll take older police vehicles when we retire them and use them in other departments. We decommission them for a cost. And the thought is once those vehicles are used for 2 or 3 years later, replace them with hybrids. And then in our building planning department, which needs some vehicles, maybe we'll go out to the market and get those pure electric vehicles, but keep in mind, we then need the charging stations. So the cost, I think, for just 2 vehicles and the charging stations, $120,000, more directly out of pocket than otherwise, but it may have some long-term benefit. Sure. So those were the issues and discussions that we had before the board.
What was the consensus on the board for these purchases? How's everyone feeling about it?
Well, each commissioner will get a new Porsche. Some will be electric, some won't. So what'll occur is that we took the staff recommendation, and we are also going to continue to investigate, where we can start moving towards the electric or hybrid vehicles. We'll move first directly those in the building and planning, and then we'll see how we can do this, as we go further in the future, analyze both efficiency of the vehicles as well as cost benefits.
Right. So sticking with our public works theme, the township will resume our 2 cleanup weekends this month. On April 10th and 11th, and then on April 24th and 25th, both from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. What do folks need to know about the cleanup weekends?
Oh, well, these are excellent. I mean, think about all the stuff that everybody's been accumulating and, through all this period of time, and when folks have been cleaning out their own particular basements or homes because they were, didn't have anything else to do. But when going to the transfer station or whatever, take care of it again. Masks, must be worn. And so the staff will not be available to go ahead and take things out of your cars. You'll have to do that for yourself. You'll be able to dispose of your unwanted refuse and recyclables without charge, but make sure you have proof of residency, when you come. And the recyclable materials have got to be, separated from the household trash, and no hazardous waste. Can't have that. That's just not acceptable. And there'll be several nonprofit organizations will have representatives on hand to collect, bicycles and furnitures and clothing and items of that nature. So this is a really great event that's upcoming.
It really is wonderful. And we'll keep everyone updated on the collection of the events and hazardous waste and paper shredding and electronics recycling. And when this occurs, we will send out notice to the township residents to keep them informed. So is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about before we sign off for this month?
Well, here we are literally at, taping this at the end of March, so don't we have to deal with March Madness? So, for those who didn't fill out their bracket, I'll let them know that Gonzaga, Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio State will be in the Final Four. And by the time this is airing, the Phillies will have already started, and you can, go, book it. They will win 82 games this year. Other than that, I have no other news to report.
This will have to do it for this edition of Behind the Gavel. Thank you, Dan, for your time today, and thank you, Lower Merion, for watching. I'm Lori Jennings, Public Information Officer for Lower Merion Township. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.